What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Dutch Rudder here. As promised, we are going to continue with these TRX-4 dual builds. Billy and I, we got our parts in stock, and as we mentioned before, we're going to address the suspension on these things. These are pretty well shot. As you can tell, these are the stock shocks that came on the ready-to-run TRX-4 Sport model, and we're going to replace those. I'm sorry it took forever. I kind of tried to find some other shocks, so what I ended up getting was my second choice, not my first choice. The first choice were the RC four-wheel drive King shocks. They were 90mm drop-in, for the TRX, whatnot. Most of them are pretty universal as far as shock height, but the width for the top ball cup that goes in between the shock towers, unless you got an aftermarket, maybe aluminum hot racing or racing or whatever, shock towers, then yeah, you have to get a certain space or so. I was kind of playing with that, trying to figure out what I wanted. Billy's had his for a little bit. He has been super busy with work, but yes, we are going to go in here and replace these shocks with Proline Pro Spec Scalar shocks. So I picked these up from RPP Hobby. I cannot speak highly enough of RPP Hobby. Almost everything that I've looked for in the most recent weeks has been in stock. I have got the next piece to the puzzle for these. We are going to attack the body, so these aren't so toy looking. There's going to be somewhat scale to it. Without giving it away, we'll quit there. But RPP Hobby has had everything in stock that I've looked for. They're usually my last choice to go to for whatever reason, just because to tell you the truth, I didn't even know that they existed until I started searching for TRX-4 Sport hardware. And I mean, it used to be always Tower Hobbies, and that kind of tells you how long it's been since I've actually done any of this build or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously A-Main's been around for a while as well. Anyways, we're going to get to building these. We're going to throw oil in these, and I'm going to rebuild the stock TRX-4 shocks. I'm going to do a comparison between those rebuilt and these Proline Pro Spec Scalar shocks to let you know whether or not you want to drop $54 per pair on these shocks, and if it's worth it, or if you should just grab some oil and rebuild the stock shocks out of the box. So the oil I ended up going with is the AE Team Factory oil. We are going to go with two different weights, and I know usually people put a 30 weight in the front and a 45 weight, I believe, a heavier weight oil in, I usually go with a 45 weight, like a heavier weight oil in the front and a lighter weight in the rear. But we're actually going to go with a 45 in the rear and a 30 in the front. Reason being, I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking when I'm crawling and I'm scaling or going up a hill, ascending a hill, I want a stiffer shock in the rear, kind of just going back to my mountain biking days. I mean, if you have a lockable rear shock, you want to lock that out when you're on the climb. It's just going to be a much easier climb. So I'm thinking going to go with a heavier weight in the rear. In the front, we're going to go with a lighter weight. But I believe I am going to throw an overdrive in the front. So I'm hoping that will kind of balance it out as far as, being descending or ascending heavy, or, more biased towards uphill or downhill. Maybe this should even the playing field out. But yeah, so I'll catch you guys here in a little bit. I'm going to pop some oil on these, build these, throw them on, and give you a little peek. So I did forget to mention, but the only two tools you will need is a 7mm hex and a 2mm Allen wrench, or whatever you want to call it. 7mm for the wheel nuts, and every screw is pretty much 2mm that you have to end up taking off. Now I did forget to mention that these are dual rate springs, and you have the option of, with the 90 to 95 millimeter, you have the option of going with a single rate spring. We are going to go ahead and go with the dual rate spring, and this will help in the rear, just as I mentioned, as far as climbing up hills. I still have, you know, a little bit of a soft spring compression to help me out when I really need it. You know, it can compress even more, but it's still going to climb pretty well. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And as well as that, I don't know if I didn't do my homework well enough or not, but as far as these little spring or the spring cup in the top, this included spacer is not gonna, I don't know if you guys can see that well enough or not. This included spacer is not gonna work out. It needs to be centered up inside here. I was trying to get the top little, I don't know, whatever you want to call that, the spacer out of there, and with no luck, I just kind of gave up. I'm gonna you know, build these real quick, make sure we can get these nice and smooth, and then we'll go ahead and address this situation.
Drippin' Aquafina, I'm sippin' 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, AU want us, red run when I tell a bit peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Bendo with the switch again. Boy deliver like he heffinin'. Core with digits, give him estimates. Somersaults for my Benjamins. I got what you need, baby. Skirt the Chevy, make a scene, baby. LABB been the team, baby. Been Papa, word the G, baby. Look, labs till I'm finished. Had a handful of lemons through the hand. Got a bag, now the hands in the business. For my hand, it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been playing with the minutes that they been shoulda gave. And I'm flipping every digit that they been shoulda paid. Had to find a way to get it. No, this isn't what you made. If I ever wanna dip, then I'm brink with the blade. And I'm brinking a blink on the brink of some dumb shit. Watch how I move, cause I know the brink's coming. Watch for the blues, cause I know that they dumping. Nothing in my view, so it's hush on discussion. Hush on discussions, you know what you need to. I keep it in the fam to let you know that I don't need you. Y'all cats be see-through, heading out to peace. You been king, I'm regal, got it in my Abisu. Came through drippin' Aquafina, I'm sippin' 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, AU want us, red run when I tell a bit peace. Love is love. Love is love. Hold up with it, got my back on Pippin, bitch, I'm back in kitchens with the tray. Bitch, windows tinted like how black my skin is. Scoop the shorty in it from a J. Swish, she got vision just like any women giving me the kitten. Way before the riches, nothing more to mention. I could light a block up high to aura glisten. Foreign on my body, that's Agora linen. I came through drippin' Aquafina, I'm sippin' 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, AU want us, red run when I tell a bit peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love.
Very good, guys. That is the finished product here with the Proline Pro Scale or Pro Spec Scale shocks. I forget what they're called. Anyways, that took a little bit longer than anticipated. As I mentioned earlier, I wasn't sure if I was able to, or was going to be able to mount these upper shock mounts in the ball cups or whatnot. If you look at this, the opening is kind of asymmetric, and they had the spacer on one side with the ball cup, and I thought, or I was, kind of hoping or thinking that would actually be symmetrical in that space there, but it's actually pushed to the left in the shot. I pushed them to the front just because there's a little bit more space over here, so I put the spacer on the back side. Same with the rear mounts as well. I might fix that with some aluminum mounts. I do want to fix how this is plastic here, where that panhard link that pinhard bar is, or whatever you want to call that. It definitely flexes. So I'd like to address this somehow with the suspension as well. And as I was doing that, I did end up replacing all of the links with the incision links that I did in the first or second round when I did the steering servo link and the drag link, or vice versa, whatever they're called. Anyways, so we have full incision links. I did go, thankfully I bought some extra tie rod ends, or I don't know what the hell you call those right now. I couldn't get those all the way on some of these, and I did reuse some of those as well. These are the old shocks here. I was actually kind of thinking, I'm not sure what the spring rates are. I'm going to check, but with this spring that Proline gave us, I might try and rebuild these with those springs instead of just the regular Traxxas ready to run springs that came with the TRX-4 Sport. But we'll see. And as I mentioned before, we did get a stainless steel hardware kit. So as I was changing everything, I did change everything over to stainless steel hardware. I'll flip this over for you. We do have the hot racing skid plate. I saw that it was pretty simple, one screw, just pop it on there. So I went ahead and did that probably a couple videos ago. But yeah, you can see some of the new stainless steel hardware, whatnot. I'm pretty happy with how these shocks turned out. If you do watch the time lapse, there was one shock that kind of gave me problems. It was acting as if the shock cup or shock mount, or whatever you want to call this upper part, was actually cross-threading into the body of the shock. So it was kind of had me worried. It seemed to be fine. It's not leaking. I'm not sure exactly which shock it was, so I'll have to watch for those. But other than that, pretty happy. They went together pretty easily as far as changing out the I don't know what you call that, ball cup, the rear or the bottom ball cup. These are the 5mm extended ones. So this has a 95mm shock eye to eye. I do have it set all the way up. I have the collars turned all the way up on the shocks on all four corners. I'm going to play around with that. I want to see what type of droop I can get. And as mentioned before, I did go with 30 weight oil in the front and 45 in the rear. That kind of gives it a front attitude, which I kind of like. It's going to make for climbing hills pretty simple, and it's going to be forgiving when going down hills and descending. And then also with that little bit of hopefully, I'm sure I could probably scale each four corner, but hopefully that front little attitude, a little front weight bias will put a little bit more traction to the front wheels. And with the overdrive that I plan on doing, I think this will climb really well and descend very well, instead of going very good climbing and poor descending or whatnot. I think that'll be a nice middle ground, at least for me. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm gonna change it up. But yeah, I'm not sure if we will throw this into one whole video, or more than likely I'll do this video, throw this video up, and then when Billy gets his shocks mounted up, we'll get together, we'll talk about both of them and go out there and test them and see how it is. So if you are still watching this, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for subscribing for those of you who have, and if you have not, make sure you do hit that thumbs up, like this video. Might as well hit subscribe, tap the bell, get notifications, all that good YouTube stuff. But yeah, so hopefully these turn out pretty well. I'm pretty stoked to go out there and test them. So I will be bugging Billy to get his finished up so we can go out there, maybe have a little bit of fun in the mud. It has been raining a lot. But But yeah, anyways, take care. Thanks for watching. See ya.
Love is love.